Welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed your screening of Last Film Show. I'm Karen Davis, Senior Film Programmer for the festival, and I'm very honored to be here with the director and the writer of the film, Pan Nalin. Welcome to the Mill Valley Film Festival, and congratulations on the film.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled that the movie has been shown at Mill Valley Festival. I'm super exciting. This is, great. I wish I could be there, but maybe in a new normal world.
Yes, we too. I'll be honest, it was one of our programmers' favorite films, and it just gives such a warm feeling to all who view it. We've actually screened a prior work of yours, I believe, the Ayurveda film, the documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Some people watching this now might actually recollect from quite some time ago, and that was also indelible, but quite different from this one. So
that was nonfiction, documentary on art of being. Yeah, that was quite popular in the US.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So why don't I start with the questions on Last Film Show? Perhaps you could speak to us a little bit about what motivated you to focus on this particular village in Gujarat at that particular historical time in 2010, with a little parentheses. Many are wondering perhaps what degree this film might be influenced by your own experience of the past.
Right. So I think Last Film Show was kind of inspired from my own childhood, but not in 2010, but 20 years, 30 years earlier. And I never thought I would sort of go back to my childhood and my village to make this movie. But this thought after 2011-12 started playing on my mind when the celluloid started disappearing, and digital started arriving, and many single screen were shutting down across India. And there was kind of I always love to embrace changes as a storyteller, and I embrace technology. But there was this little ache in my heart that maybe there is something which is gone, which was beautiful with this this era. There was something simple, and it was a story of innocence, and it was something so amazing that I have to really sort of tackle this somehow. And I had heard all the stories from different sources, from my parents and my sisters and my teachers, and every time I used to go back, I would get a new thread of the story. He said, do you know, as a kid you ended up in a juvenile home? I said, oh yeah, it was one night. No, 4 nights. So do you remember stealing the reel? So a lot of things you see in the Last Film Show is actually what I did as a kid, and the story with the projectionist and my friendship and swapping my lunchbox with him, that's all truly happened. My mother used to be a great cook, and in fact everyone in my family just loved cooking. So I think I decided to sort of go back. I realized that there is a 10 years in 2019-20, it'll be 1 decade of disappearance of celluloid film. So maybe this will be a great time to pay a homage to so many great filmmakers who inspired me, who changed my life, and and that's how the whole film came together. And just to add that it's shot more or less in all the locations where I grew up in Gujarat, including the railway station and the field, the cinema hall. There are many locations which were truly part of my life.
Thank you for that wonderful response, including the legal confession that you had actually stolen the reel of film. So now the world knows, guilty as charged. But clearly you have paid the price. And let's jump from that point, that the film is clearly a love song to the history of cinema. And it's clear that you, like your character, Samay, are a huge cinephile. So can you speak a little bit about some of your influences? Because I'm sure that you've received a lot of comparisons, favorable ones, no doubt, with Cinema Paradiso, but also certainly perhaps Satyajit Ray's great Apu
Right.
trilogy,
Yeah.
in particular perhaps Pater Panchali and the story of an impoverished Brahmin family and a young boy. But there's so much more there. So whatever you want to tell us about how the influences.
Right. The influence happened at two levels, consciously and, of course, at subconscious level. That when of course, as a kid, when I grew up, I only saw mainstream popular masala Bollywood movies. There was nothing else. I didn't even know Hollywood existed till I was about 16, when I went to a town and, there were English movies playing, so that was like the discovery of Hollywood. And there I discovered there was something called Film Society and film clubs who every Sunday used to screen world cinema, so I ended up joining the film club, and then later I stood for election to become president and started programming movies, French New Wave and Italian Neorealism and all kind of cinema. So my progress was slow discovery to all these movies. And sometime when I was watching those movies, like I remember watching 8.5 of Fellini, and there's a Saragina, who dances. The kids go and give little money to, and we did that exactly. That as a kid, we used to go to this gypsy and give her some money or food and she'll dance for us. And that was like, I said, like, how can Fellini go into my head and read? It just blew my mind totally. A year later, I saw the zone scene from Tarkovsky's Stalker, when they are going on the track and trolley. And I said, we did this as a kid, and it was a meditative experience when you used to sit there and I could hear the sound. There it was not so much images, but it's exactly the sound of the tracks, passing by. So there were many such recall values. So when this influence, when I decided that this film is going to be kind of about me, but there was no way I could ignore all these people who left such deep impact on me, and when I was watching the movie, because that's what the cinema was great. I felt that was the greatest thing about cinema, that it can take you back and connect with your own universal experience, and Fellini, I've never been to Italy, and knew nothing, and I could be here, and suddenly we are connected by this simple emotion. And similarly, in that scene, the father also comes and beats up the kid, and I used to get the similar beating from my father. So there was just, it just felt so amazing, this whole magical experience. So when I started writing Last Film Show, I tried to avoid, I had like, my first script was filled with so much influence. I said, like, this looks like movie about filmmakers than what I want to do, because I just couldn't get that out, and every time the experience comes, when I write something about train, I said, oh, that reminds me of that movie. Oh, this is what I lived as a kid. Oh, when I go to the projection room and the 35mm projector used to reflect the light on your face, and I said, oh, that's like 2001 Space Odyssey, and it was just endless recall, emotional. And then I sort of decided to forget that. I don't want to think about Cinema Paradiso, even though it was my most favorite film. And I purposely decided not to look at that movie for at least, the last time I saw it was, I think, was 2011 on a big screen, because there was a restored version. So, and I knew that there will be, a comparison of a kind, but I decided I'll try to go as much as possible to my honest story, go back to my mother, my sister, my childhood, the projectionist I knew, and I will not worry what might resemble something, There is so much films have been made in the world, and there's no way I was claiming to create something authentic or original, but I wanted to be true to myself and tell the story of the Last Film Show, where, the light played such a central character as me growing up as a kid. Chasing the light was like the mission till I was like, till I left my village. Yeah.
I think you did create something authentic and original.
Thank you.
I think I'm speaking for not just myself here. And now we have to go on to the casting. The extraordinary, particularly Bhavan Rabari, the extraordinary 9-year-old who acts the part of Samay. how and where did you find this child and the rest of the cast, which is also extraordinary?
It was a long mission, and we almost stopped at least twice the production because we couldn't find the cast, So, and I was working closely with my friend Dilip Shankar, who is one of the amazing casting director who worked with Wes Anderson and Ang Lee for The Life of Pi, where he has found the protagonist. So me and Dilip, we started with where the cinema is, which is Mumbai and these big cities. And we were really disappointed. We must have done about 1,000 auditions, because these days the parents in India prepare their kids at very young age to go to the reality TV shows, so they are really prepped up to go to India's Got Talent, and, and they just sound so not natural, and even their physical features was not I grew up with as a kid. So we went further deep inside the countryside, and we decided that let's try to find where kids rarely go to see cinema. Are there any places today? And we were able to locate several community in the region of Gujarat, where kids have watched movie maybe on a mobile phone or a TV, but had very rarely been to cinema. So we located those schools. And from there, we did a first selection of 200 children, out of 3,000 we had scanned. And those 200 children, from which we really spent time talking to them. We never asked them to read. It was not at all a traditional audition at all. It just mainly playing with them and talking with them and seeing what they do. And I was interested in their naughtiness, So I met Bhavin among that group of shortlisted 60 children. And all of them we called to this forest reserve, all 70 of them. And we had a week-long workshop with them where they paint, draw, tell stories, tell their mischief, and from there we came up. We, of course, knew Samay was there, but we also found the gang, the other 5 kids. Mm-hmm. So Samay, he is from a Rabari tribe, which are basically cow herder and camel herder, and his father, some years ago had to sell his cattle and became a bus driver. So they come from a very modest family background. And, he is very proud of his buffaloes, and just cinema did not attract him at all. So he had never been inside a cinema hall ever. And he was 9.5 when we were filming. So he never was really sort of pushed even by his parents. Little bit because of moral value associated with cinema. They said, yeah, what is there to see? There is too much violence and too much songs and dance, and it's not good influence. We see that on TV. There's not worth spending a one day. So that was his parents' opinion. So that innocence I really liked, one, and then that naughtiness, because he came from a modest background. And, we had written one line on the workshop, which said, when you have nothing, nothing should stop you, So, and he started sort of embodied that idea that, can you do this? We told him, can you make a cart? Yeah, don't worry. I will just find some junk and make cart for you. Can you do this? Oh, don't worry. I can do this. So there was that spirit of innovativeness, which we were looking so much, within the character. And then we told him, can you, we had broken few parts of bicycle, and he said, I don't know how to fix a bicycle, but if somebody shows me, I can fix it. Mm-hmm. So the mechanic did something, and in one go, he learned and he fixed the bicycle, and this happened on several other occasions. So there was this enormous skill of picking up, mm-hmm. And he had to learn the movie projector, 35 millimeter, yes. So go to the projection booth, and he learned so fast that in the scene when Fazal, the projectionist, has to teach him how to run, and he said, yeah, but I know this. Why is he teaching me? He doesn't know, So we told him, no, but you have to behave as if you don't know.
Yes.
So he was absolute fine, and he really made the movie come alive, in every sense of the word. Mm-hmm. The innocence, the simplicity, the body language, which I knew as a kid. And he was so great with the group of other kids, who again came from a very poor, modest background. The shoemaker's son, or the labor, who works on a building construction site, auto rickshaw driver's son. So they are sort of bonded together regardless of their religious and caste and religious belief and caste. They were just together, like they didn't know each other, but they became like this, like what's next kind of a thing, So yeah, so that's how the casting, and then of course we did have a 4-week workshop once the cast was decided, but that was, again, we never told them. We just narrated, because they come still from strong oral tradition. So the story was narrated to them. The script was not given to them, neither the scene, and in order to keep their innocence, they knew the scene the day of the shooting. They discovered what they have to say. They were told the dialogues, and very often they made it their own, which is in the movie.
Yeah, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. And kudos to you on this wonderful cast. I want to get back for a minute to the role of food in the film, because you very briefly said that was an important part of your past. I cannot think of a film that combines so much, including the fact that the food, the role of the food, and the depiction of the preparation of the food, it is beyond. It is beyond what anyone can stand to watch this film without wanting to then go and then sample some of it. It's so beautifully done. Can you speak a little bit about the role of the food within that village culture?
Right, within the village culture and family, even today. Especially in my family, there was only one subject, that was food. I don't remember ever as a kid we discussing religion or politics or money problem or festival or somebody's love story. All the time. Okra, the food, spices, mangoes. Oh, this is this season. We must get this. By the time we're eating breakfast, what are we eating for lunch? By the time it's lunchtime, my father is already going to do shopping for dinner. And it was like a obsession, which is even now, it has not changed. And in the process, everyone is a great cook in my family. My brother, my sister, my father was excellent cook, so, and they believed in this, like, oh, why do we need coriander? We just plant it here. Oh, we need basilic. We plant it here. So everything was planted, which is again very common in this part of the villages. You can still go there and see people growing their own chilies and aubergine and okra just outside, little kitchen garden. And I realized that I had kind of a two universe at home. I couldn't talk film. There was only food. And when I go out, I was obsessed with films, So while I was writing, suddenly I wrote a couple of, and I wrote a big letter F on the wall, while we were preparing the movie. And I said, this film is about food and film and family, and then Samay and his friends, and then in the end, it's about the future, So this 5F is like completed the universe of the film, family, friends, food, films, and future. And I said, what more do I want in my life? That's it. I'm happy,
Wow.
Food, films, friends, family, done. I don't need anything more. No need for Ferrari, the 6th F.
No need for Ferrari. No, you don't need a 6th one. You've got it all with those 5. Absolutely. So I know we're coming to the end of our time, but I wanted to just ask you a little bit about the universality of the story. We know that you've chosen to make it, produce it in Gujarat, in the villages, in the area where you grew up, in the Gujarati language, but the messages are so universal. So can you speak about the ways that you feel the last film show, and I think we would agree, speaks to a 21st century global audience?
Yeah, that seems like I'm very surprised. Even before I became a filmmaker, as a kid, my parents did not know how to kind of read or write, but they were great oral storyteller. And my mother used to say that, look, when you tell a story, if you have attention of our little village, if everybody pays attention, the whole universe will listen to you, and if they don't pay attention, forget it, so there was some truth in that kind of a local going global. And I realized that first I wanted absolutely a simplicity, innocence, and I wanted to be honest as possible into this story. And somewhere I knew, while meeting people across the world, that everyone had such wonderful story to share about their first movie-going experience. Whether you live in a big city like New York or LA or wherever you are, everyone had, oh my God, my first movie was Star Wars. Oh my God, first thing I saw was Towering Inferno. I was so scared. So, and this is, and I thought, that should be, if I just narrate that experience and that magic of going to movie and telling story, maybe there'll be something universal about it. But I didn't realize it'll be so universal when we had screening, at festivals and audience award. And we just had a huge premiere in Beijing last week in China with 1,400 spectators. And wow, they said, this is our story, and now, the film will be released by Samuel Goldwyn Films in the US, and that's a huge thing for a Gujarati movie. I mean, there have been Indian movies released in US, but this will be a first Gujarati language movie coming out in the US cinema hall. And now, we've been hearing that almost all the Europe is going to have theatrical release in Italy and Spain. And, we have a screening coming up in Iceland in October and Taiwan in November. So I'm just so deeply touched and moved that people are just associating and finding themselves and their own story within the last film show.
Yes,
it's very inspiring.
And their love for cinema, which you telegraph so beautifully and visually in the bangles of the women on the train at the end, where everyone has a color scheme, from Chaplin to Kubrick to Jane Campion, who is here with us, actually being honored at the festival this year.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice.
You've got the perfect color schemes in the bangles, which sadly used to be celluloid film, and how things transform, but yet the cinema remains. So so many metaphors.
Yeah, with the cinematographer, we studied work of this filmmaker, and we passed on to our costume designer, and we gave them their favorite palette to choose.
Yes.
That we said, look, Kubrick worked with this palette, so can we look for bangle within that shade? So many cinematographers will enjoy this,
Oh, perfect. So now we have to ask, what's next for you in terms of your upcoming projects? Because we are going to be following you and following the films and seeking them wherever they may be. What are you working on now, Pan?
Yeah, I'm trying to work on something very different. It's kind of a martial art epic, but it's a story of men who created martial art, and it's set in 5th century, and it works at many level. At first look, it's out and outright high voltage action movie. Then within the layer, there is a layer of Zen Buddhism. And then at the center, there is the question, kind of a Shakespearean question, to heal or to kill. That is the question, Yes. So we've been working on this, kind of a movie, which let's see, so we are fully into development. And at the same time, I've been reading screenplays from my manager, who's sending me some screenplay. Thanks to last film show, there are a lot of US screenwriters are interested that, would I be interested in directing this story? So I, of course, love reading other people's work. And I know that there are other writers far better than me, so I respect them a lot. So I'm reading also some screenplays from the US, to probably see if something just touches my heart. And so we shall see. Yeah, but it's a different time for cinema right now, with the streaming, and there's this hybrid existence. So I think we will see.
And we will be looking. Thank you so very much for joining us. And
Thank you so much for having me.
This most beautiful film, last film show. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you.